John had never gotten a renovating job like this before. It was by far the biggest house in the city, and the whole assignment was shrouded in secrecy. And it would turn out that that was for good reason, as John would soon discover that every floor of the house had a layer of coins hidden under it. And the reason why made John regret ever accepting this job. John did not believe what he was seeing. No wonder he was not allowed to even touch the floor during the whole renovation. After checking a couple of rooms, he knew for sure that these layers of strange coins were spread out all throughout the giant house. But one thing he did know for sure, and that was that this could not be legal, and that he would get in big trouble with the owner if they discovered that he had broken open the floor. He needed to call the police and pray theft would get here earlier than the owner. When the doorbell rang about half an hour later, John's heart was in his throat. There was something big about to happen. But why were there strange coins under all the floors? Why was the renovation so secretive, and who is the owner of the giant house? But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories. John had found work in renovating houses for years now and felt like he had dealt with nearly all possible kinds of customers and houses at this point, and that is why he never really shied away from a challenge anymore. But he was going to very much regret the next assignment he would get. Most of the time he would meet up with the owner of a house and they would together take a stroll to the house, discussing what needed to be done in the renovating. But when he got the call, John quickly realized that this would be a very different job. He did not get the assignment from the actual owner of the house, but from somebody who was taking care of the man or woman's affairs. John was told that the person would be out of town for a month and that at that time the house needed a small renovation, and the assignment giver had a very specific list for it. At first, John did not really question the situation. A person could have an assistant, and even though it was strange that the owner wanted to stay so anonymous, it did not ring any alarm bells. And the job itself sounded like a piece of cake to John when he heard the to-do list. These were small and easy fixes mainly focused on making the house look and function as pristine as possible. People often wanted these things down when getting a house ready for sale. And so John accepted the job without hesitation. But he should have looked a little bit more into the specifics before making the agreement, because only when John accepted the assignment did he get the address of the house. It was in an area of the city that John was not all too familiar with, so he quickly Googled the address, and when he saw the house, his jaw nearly dropped to the floor. This was one of the biggest looking houses he had ever seen. It had to be the biggest house in the city. He had seen pictures of it before but had never gotten close to it as it was located in a small gated community. Why would such a rich person hire a freelance contractor like himself, with no experience working on houses this size? John started to break out in cold sweats when thinking of the idea of this assignment. This was now way too big a job for one man to complete in only 1 month's time, and he was also afraid of maybe breaking something of value in the house and being in debt for the rest of his life. He told the supposed assistant that he could not take the job, but immediately got the response that they would then double his rate to take the job. John was completely caught off guard by this and did not know what to say for a minute. And in that time, the assistant offered to triple his rate. It was clear that money was not an issue here, and for that kind of money, John suddenly felt a lot more confident in taking the job. He did ask if he could maybe also bring in a couple of other contractors to help him out, but he was quickly told that that was not an option. He was going to have to do this job alone, without telling anybody about it. It would have to be completed within a month from today, and he would be paid handsomely for it. John could feel that there was something strange going on with his job, but the money was just too good to turn down. Plus, if there was actually something going on that could not see the light of day, then he could just claim that he had no idea about it when taking the job. And so he did end up agreeing to do the job for triple the fee. But he would soon realize that no amount of money was worth doing this renovation. He would arrive very early at the entrance of the gated community the next day. He knew that he had very little time for this project, and so he wanted to use every available hour. He was let in, and when walking towards the house, he noticed that there were already 2 men waiting for him. He had assumed that he would just get the key to the house that morning and then he could get to work. And that is basically what happened, except for the fact that he would not be in this house alone. The 2 very serious-looking men told him that they stay with him during most of the renovation process. John found this a bit strange but figured that the house was easily big enough for the 3 of them and that they would not be in the way. But the opposite of that turned out to be true, as this man did not John out of their sight. They were always in the same room watching his every move. During the first week of the renovation process, John was never alone in the house. There was always one man with him, even if he went to the toilet or went to smoke a cigarette outside, and they never talked, not a word. Only the occasional whispers to each other, and that was not all. On the 3rd day of working there, John spotted that at least one of these men was carrying a gun. A small one that he could hide in his waistband, but when he bent over to pick something up, John could see the pistol clear as day. What had he gotten himself into? John had never felt this uncomfortable during a job. It was absolutely bizarre. Was the owner so afraid that he would steal or break anything in that he had hired 2 babysitters for him? But he could not hire any other contractors to help him. It just all made very little sense to him. John could not help but start to speculate that there was something else going on here. Something that he and nobody else from the outside was allowed to know about. That had to be why they only wanted one contractor, to minimize the risk of anybody finding something. Even though John was very fearful of the situation he had found himself in, he could not help but also be somewhat curious about what these guys were so protective about. He had already spent some evenings researching the house, trying to find out who the owner was, but so far, he had no luck. But one day, John got a clue. When he walked into the next room that needed to be partially renovated, he saw that there was seemingly some damage to the hardwood floor. Fixing the floor was not on the list of tasks, but it did seem like an eye fix for him, and he was willing to do it. All he needed to do was carefully take the damaged plank out and put a new one in. And with the layout of the floor, that should only take like 10 minutes tops. But when he even moved towards the plank to check it out, he was immediately yelled at by both of the security guards. Fixing the floor was not on his list of tasks, and he should thus not be concerned by it. John tried to explain what an easy fix it would be, but there was no changing the guard's mind. If he would even touch the wooden plank, he would be fired on the spot and would not get paid a penny. So John left the floor alone for now, but it did not leave his mind. There was clearly something below that floor that he was not supposed to see. Maybe a door to a hidden basement? He hoped that he would maybe get a chance to check it out, but it would be very difficult with these guards. But that chance would end up coming only 2 days later. It was a relatively uneventful and standard working day so far, but out of nowhere, one of the guards got a call, and by his reaction, John could see that there was something serious going on. When he hung up, he immediately told the other guard that they needed to go now and that John needed to go home. But before John had even packed up his things, the guards had already left the building. John knew that this was probably his only chance to snoop around the house a little bit. All the coins below the floor are very valuable and are the secret fortune of the owner of the house, who is a big player in organized crime. He discovered that below every floor in the house, there was a layer of coins. Most of them are very valuable actually. It turned out that the owner of the house was a big player in organized crime, and this was his hidden fortune. John called the police before the guards came back, and they were arrested. The search for the owner of the house is still ongoing. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable tale like this one.